My phone buzzed just as I was finishing up with picking up my son, Ethan, from preschool. I checked the screen, thinking it might be a quick note from my spouse about evening meals. Instead, it read, "Heading to Portugal with Lisa. I've moved our funds to my personal account. Best of luck with the bills." My fingers went numb halfway through signing the form. Ethan pulled on my coat, completely unaware that our world had just shattered. "Ethan, did you pack my robot treats?" I managed a weak grin, wrapped up the paperwork, and sent back a reply while my thoughts spun in chaos. "Appreciate the heads up," a simple phrase that hid the storm of feelings raging inside me. Lisa was his office coordinator. Those funds were the result of nearly a decade of scrimping and hard work. The payment for our Boston rental was coming up in a few days. I'm Rebecca Thompson, 35, mom to 3-year-old Ethan, and evidently about to be the former wife of Michael Thompson, who had ditched us with the cold indifference of a brief note. All I desired was basic steadiness for my boy, some financial peace, and an opportunity to create an existence free from Michael's reckless choices. Blocking my path was the urgent need to get by. How could I maintain a home for us when our nest egg had been raided? "Where's Dad?" Ethan wondered as we headed to the vehicle, his tiny fingers wrapped in mine. "Is he cooking tacos this evening?" "Dad's away on business," I replied, the start of numerous gentle fibs. "No doubt. We'll grab burgers tonight. Once home." I settled Ethan with his beloved show and dialed the financial institution. The courteous agent verified my nightmares. Michael had indeed shifted the full amount, $38,452 from our shared reserve to one solely in his name. With both of us listed on it, they couldn't intervene. It wasn't considered stealing by bank rules. I logged into our everyday account online, praying Michael had forgotten about our regular money. It showed $289.47. Our housing cost was $1,950. As the truth hit hard, my device rang with a call from Michael's mom. "Eleanor, Rebecca, what on earth have you done?" She barked right away. "Michael claims you're blocking him from seeing Ethan." I tried to grasp her accusation. "What?" "Michael just informed me he's relocating to Portugal. He's wiped out our money." "Stop fabricating," she shot back. "He shared the messages with me. You're warning to withhold Ethan unless he gives you extra in the divorce." I brought up a finer man than to be intimidated. As Eleanor ranted on, a nauseating insight emerged. Michael wasn't merely leaving us. He was crafting a false tale casting me as the antagonist. And from the certainty in her tone, she swallowed it all. This went beyond mere endurance now. It involved honesty, fairness, and my child's tomorrow. Michael and I connected 8 years back at a media event in Philadelphia. I was a driven content manager at Summit Press, and he handled promotions for a competing company. He wooed me with the same magnetic energy that boosted his job success: personal letters, meaningful presents, elaborate outings. In under a year, we tied the knot in a cozy event by the harbor. The early times were solid. We shifted to Boston for my advancement to lead manager, and Michael quickly landed a promotions role at a nearby agency. We acquired a simple townhouse, took trips now and then, and mapped out our path ahead. When Ethan arrived 3 years ago, we decided I'd scale back my career to prioritize parenting. While Michael's job covered us, I switched to part-time consultant, handling tasks from home around Ethan's routine. This change in our money setup matched quiet shifts in Michael's actions. Minor charges popped up on our plastic unexplained. He started staying out longer, blaming it on compensating for my lower earnings. His mother, who always saw me as inferior to her boy, got more entangled in our affairs, frequently questioning my child-rearing when she came over. "Ethan requires stricter guidance." She'd comment, as Michael stayed quiet, "Rebecca is too lenient." A year back, We sold the townhouse and switched to leasing after Michael persuaded me to put the proceeds into his buddy's venture. The project tanked in 6 months, but Michael's talks of economic ups and downs sounded believable. When I proposed going back to steady employment, he claimed it wasn't needed and that Ethan wanted me around. Believe in me, he'd insist I've got it all managed. I did believe him, even as questions arose sometimes. Like finding bills for meals on evenings he said he was at the office late, or when he got protective of his device, placing it screen down and stepping out for conversations. Each instance, his reasons appeared just credible enough to hush my doubts. 2 months prior, Michael revealed a job bump that involved some overseas trips. The extra pay would rebuild our reserves. He stated, about then, he brought up Lisa, a fresh coordinator who was incredibly skilled at managing his calendar. A week ago, I spotted a Lisbon guidebook tucked in his workspace. When questioned, he brushed it off. The group could launch a branch in Europe eventually. Just scouting ahead, I took his word, overlooking the faint shake in his speech and how his gaze avoided mine. That guidebook ought to have alerted me, but it turned into yet another signal I ignored until too late. The next day, after Michael's crushing message, I left Ethan at school and went to his workplace, set on facing him directly. Certainly, he wouldn't vanish without formally ending our union or arranging for Ethan. The Michael I wed wasn't vicious, rash at times, but not ruthless. The front desk worker's face turned from polite greeting to unease when I requested Michael, apologies, Mrs. Thompson, but Michael isn't employed here anymore. He quit recently. Recently? My tone echoed far away, even to me. That's not possible. He was in on Tuesday. She toyed with a clipboard. I shouldn't discuss staff details, but he gave notice a couple weeks back. Today was his final shift. A couple weeks. While I organized dinners and handled Ethan's kindergarten forms, Michael had been plotting his getaway. The worker dodged my look as I expressed thanks and staggered to the lift. In the lot, I rang Michael's best pal, Ryan. Hey, Rebecca. He picked up warily. How are things? You were aware, I stated the truth, Donnan. You knew he intended to go. Ryan's delay affirmed it before he replied. He swore me to secrecy, said he wanted a fresh start. A fresh start from his kid. My pitch climbed despite trying to stay level from 7 years of partnership. Listen, I'm regretful. I said it was mistaken, but Lisa brings him joy. He mentioned you and Ethan would fare better without him holding you back. Lisa brings him joy. The phrase stung more than expected. I suspected their connection wasn't purely work, but having a shared friend verify it shifted doubt to embarrassing fact. Did he mention draining our finances? I inquired. Ryan's quiet told plenty. Damn, Rebecca, I didn't know he'd take it that far. His tone softened. That's wrong. After hanging up, I lingered in my car, the extent of Michael's deceit overwhelming me. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment choice or brief lapse. It was a deliberate exit, carefully arranged, while he acted the part of loyal partner and parent. Upon reaching home, a registered envelope was waiting. Within was a divorce filing from Michael dated days before, noting irreparable conflicts. It gave his new location in Lisbon and asked that all parenting duties stay with the mom, with no access or rights for the dad. He was formally forsaking Ethan while framing me as the barrier between them. Enclosed was a memo from Michael's counsel. Mr. Thompson has noted you possess ample reserves to manage during this change. He won't offer maintenance or kid aid. I collapsed on the sofa, papers strewn about. Every part of our shared life now seemed a built-up deception. The guy I wed, or believed I wed, had been scheming his departure for weeks, maybe longer, securing our resources while building a story that made him the injured party. My device alerted with a note from Michael, Arrived in Lisbon, avoid reaching out. My attorney will manage it all. Rage started overtaking stun. For Ethan's benefit, I had to plan smartly. Initial action, lock down our living setup before the bill hit. Next, record all for the split process. Third, locate a legal expert to guide through this mess. For the initial time since Michael's note, I let tears flow, not from sorrow, but from the daunting awareness of the challenge. Once the crying stopped, one idea stood firm. Michael had misjudged me. He always had. 4 days post Michael's exit, I faced Elena Ruiz, a family law specialist suggested by an old colleague. Her space was plain yet tidied, like Elena. To be direct, she stated after scanning my files, your spouse's conduct is appalling, though not fully unlawful. Given your marriage, he could access those combined funds, even while plotting to leave us. My words broke despite staying calm. The positive side is courts frown on such acts. We can seek urgent kid aid and possibly lock any leftover hold-ins. She bent closer. We require evidence he's still making money while dodging his duties as a parent. I agreed. Already collecting proof. Captures of Michael's notes, financial logs of the big pullout, the official split request. But proving his present job from thousands of miles off appeared hopeless. That night, seeking quick fixes, I phoned my folks in Ohio. They promptly pledged to handle my housing and essentials till the law side bettered. We'll arrive soon, my mom declared resolutely. You can't face this solo. Her back end eased a knot in my core, with Ethan asleep. I examined Michael's left-behind workspace. I sought any papers aiding my claim, tax forms, job agreements, whatever showed his earning ability and duties to Ethan. In the lower compartment, under outdated manuals, I uncovered a closed letter to Michael's mom. Interest trumped caution. Inside, a holiday card and a scrawled message. Mother, grateful for aiding with the Lisbon flat down payment. Lisa and I are eager to host you in our spot come June. We couldn't pull this off without you. Affection, Michael. The card's date was 2 months past, near when Michael first spoke of his raise. Eleanor hadn't merely known his scheme, she'd funded it, with unsteady hands. I snapped pics of the card and message, then kept hunting, tax docs, asset reports, our wedding paper. I sorted it all carefully in his mail drafts on our joint machine. I found an unsent note to Lisa with a linked CV showing his fresh role at Horizon International in Lisbon, starting mere days after his note to me. With this key proof, I saw Elena once more. She examined it, her look turning more resolute. This is precisely required. We can submit for urgent directives now, kid aid, locking joint properties, and maybe an order for him to come back here. Optimism sparked first, since Michael's note. What's next? To start, we lodge the urgent requests. Then, we question Eleanor on her part. If Michael's begun work in Portugal while ditching his kid, we'll ensure the judge grasps the full picture. The day after, lifted by this advance, I got a note from Michael's counsel. A proposal of $4,000 to settle everything. They're probing your urgency. Elena suggested when I passed it on. Ignore it. That evening, I had a straight message from Michael. Accept the deal. Rebecca, you won't secure more, and battling will just eat up that bit. Act sensible for a change. His arrogance sparked a silent anger. I didn't reply, but kept the note as sign of his stance on duties. 3 days on, we got an urgent session slot that same day. I had a surprise ring from Lisa's old housemate, Clara, who found my info in Lisa's ditched stuff. I figured you ought to hear their scheme, Clara said, her tone unsure. Lisa's chatted about this for ages, how they'd begin anew in Portugal sans ties. She even boasted of Michael stashing cash where you couldn't reach. My brief hope faded as Clara went on. recounting talks she'd caught between Lisa and Michael on offshore setups and settling in Portugal to muddle court actions. They aim to make contesting so costly and tough you'll quit. Clara ended, apologies. I believed you should know the opposition. The dawn of our urgent session, I rose to another note from Michael. Word is, you're pulling Mom in. Poor choice. Rebecca, halt this or you'll rue it. His warning firmed my determination. At the court, Elena and I lingered outside the room, going over our pitch again. The entrance swung, and Michael's counsel stepped out. A sleek guy in a pricey outfit radiating assurance. Mrs. Thompson, he acknowledged briskly. Mr. Ellis for Michael Thompson. Before answering, a surprise person showed behind him. Eleanor, perfectly attired and sporting the same critical stare she'd aimed at me forever. You ought to feel disgrace, she whispered, brushing off Elena's cautioning touch on my sleeve, attempting to blackmail my boy when you pushed him off. Mrs. Thompson, Elena cut in evenly. As you're present, note will summon you to testify on your monetary aid in your boy's forsaking of his kin. Eleanor's complexion paled a bit, yet she held steady. I don't follow. The session moved with sharp precision. The magistrate heard both sides, checked our proof of Michael's fund shift and new job, and approved our urgent requests. Michael must give prompt kid aid and repay part of the shared properties as the matter went on. It seemed a big win, but Eleanor's sudden show worried me. Why travel to Boston for a standard urgent mate? That query resolved next day with a call from an unfamiliar global line. Is this Rebecca Thompson? A lady's voiced accent asked. Yep, who speaks? I'm Maria Santos, personnel head at Horizon International Lisbon. Regarding your spouse, Michael Thompson. My pulse quickened. Yes, we got your message on his work status. I must tell you, Mr. Thompson is no longer with us. He was let go yesterday. I furrowed in bewilderment. I sent no message. A break. Someone under your name forwarded files indicating Mr. Thompson had a parenting fight and ongoing legal troubles in America. Firm rules demand revealing such during hiring. The truth struck. Eleanor. She'd posed as me to wreck Michael's job, making sure he couldn't meet the court's aid command. It was a strategic step to weaken the magistrate's decision and back Michael's assertion he couldn't pay for Ethan. Ms. Santos, that wasn't my message. Can you send it over? Soon after, I viewed a note supposedly mine, packed with twisted partial facts on Michael's case and warning the firm of suits if they kept him. The note had duplicates of our private files, some I'd just assembled for my lawyer. My place was intact, meaning one individual could have grabbed those files. Eleanor, during her stop, to aid me post Michael's leave. I rang Elena at once, who backed my hunch. This is persona theft and meddling with a court directive. We must log all and submit more requests. As we shaped this fresh approach, my device rang once more. Michael dialing straight for the first since going. You spiteful, he growled instantly. You had me dismissed after all I proposed. It wasn't me. Michael, your mom did it. His brief quiet showed he saw the chance. That's ridiculous. Why would she? To portray you unable to pay aid, to sabotage the directive, to pit you more against me. You're deceiving, he claimed, but doubt edged his words. Mom wouldn't snoop your mail. See the files sent? Those were at my place till your mom came last week. The connection quieted for moments. I'll ring back, he said at last. Minutes later, my inbox got a mail from Michael with a shocker, a chain of notes between him and Eleanor unveiling a troubling fact. This exceeded Michael departing. It aimed to erase me fully. When you're settled in Portugal, Eleanor wrote months before, we can pursue total guardianship of Ethan, given Rebecca's past instability after his arrival. We can argue she's unfit, my afterbirth blues, which I'd battled via counseling, and Michael's seeming back-in, had been turned against me from the start. Uncovering Eleanor and Michael's extended scheme to seize Ethan reshaped the fight. This surpassed money survival. It meant shielding my boy from folks who saw him as property to claim, not a kid to raise. Elena swiftly lodged more requests, logging Eleanor's persona theft and the plot to twist guardianship. We also notified authorities of the theft, making informal note of Eleanor's wrongful deeds. We've bolstered our stance a lot, Elena promised, but Michael holds edges with distance and most shared funds. I knew we required more, solid proof to persuade a magistrate to lock all Michael's funds and perhaps force his U.S. return. The notes showed plotting, but not where our lost reserves were. In a flash of idea, I reached Ryan again. I need aid, I said directly. For Ethan's good. Ryan's remorse over his quiet role in Michael's schemes made him open. What? Details? Michael likely shared more on his money setups, where he shifted cash, how he'd live in Portugal. A big pause. He spoke of a setup in the Bahamas, said his mom aided years back for tax reasons. Didn't dwell on it then. Bank name? Any specifics? Premier Island Bank, I recall. Rebecca, sorry I stayed silent longer. I never figured he'd abandon Ethan totally. This fresh data offered a launch, but we needed particulars, account codes, shift logs, anything linking Michael to concealed funds. I recalled Michael always varied the same code for accounts, often with Ethan's birth and our wedding date, with shaky digits. I attempted his online storage with the top guess. Shockingly, it opened. Inside, sections detailing his getaway, captures of shift approvals, letters with Eleanor on the offshore setup, even a file named Guardianship Plan detailing their scheme to depict me as unsteady mom once Ethan reached Portugal. I sent all to Elena, fast, who replied soon, her tone tight with held thrill. This is key. I'm lodging for urgent locks on the Bahamas setup and seeking global action. Days later, we claimed our first large triumph. The magistrate okayed our request to lock Michael's offshore setup, awaiting probe. Michael's counsel countered right away, charging me with unlawful access, which briefly risked our gains. Then the surprise twist. Lisa rang me straight. Rebecca, let's chat, she said, her tone missing usual poise. Michael's unraveling over here. Not my issue now. Please, she pressed. He's mentioning returning to Boston to sort with you personally. I'm concerned what he'll do. A shiver hit me. Michael never hit, but his current panic made him unknown. Why share this? Lisa, since this isn't the deal I took, he vowed a new beginning, not a guy fixated on his former spouse and concealing funds from me as well. Her words surprised. He's concealing from you. Another setup I learned of. Post the magistrate lock in the Bahamas. He said we'd manage fine with reserve funds even his mom ignores. This could be vital data, but I felt Lisa wasn't given freely. What do you seek? Lisa. Safeguard. She stated plain. When Michael learns I spoke to you, he'll attack me too. I need promise no legal fallout for my part. Can't vow without my lawyer. Then sort quick, she answered, as Michael set a flight to Boston tomorrow, and Rebecca. He looked off when mentioning, frightening off. After talking with Elena, we made an offer. No charges for Lisa for full records of all setups and a formal declaration on Michael and Eleanor's plot. Lisa okayed fast, forwarding financial logs showing another setup in Switzerland with most our shared funds, over $180,000. With this last bit, we got an urgent protection order hours before Michael's planned landing in Boston. As his flight touched down, airport guards would await. Michael's Boston return went as arranged. Guards held him on arrival, handing him the protection order and court call for next morning's urgent meet. His call to me from the airport hold buzzed with held fury. What is this crap? Rebecca, I returned to resolve. With a single-way pass and no lodging, I replied, Lisa's tip spot on. Court's at 9 tomorrow. Get counsel. In court, Michael looked messy and guarded, obviously unready for the pile of proof we showed. Offshore setups, persona theft, guardianship plot, and worst, Lisa's formal declaration on how he schemed the ditching for months while hiding shared funds. The magistrate's face hardened as Elena steadily laid our case. When she showed the guardianship plan file using my afterbirth blues against me, Michael clearly deflated. Honor. Elena rapped. We ask prompt return of all shared funds, total guardianship of the child to my side, only watched visits for the dad, and a detailed audit of all cash hidden by Mr. Thompson and his mom. When Michael's quick-hired counsel tried framing me as the attacker who made Michael shield his funds, the magistrate stopped him. Lawyer, I've seen the proof. Your side methodically cheated his spouse, ditched his kid, and schemed to trick this court. Spare your fancy spins. The magistrate's decision was thorough. All name setups locked and under court watch. Michael's travel doc seized till money matters settled. Tempt total guardianship to me, and ascend to the prosecutors to check possible crimes against Michael and Eleanor for persona theft and plotting. As Michael eyed me in court, I held his stare firm. No more the broken lady he anticipated. In his look, I spotted the growing awareness that his built getaway had turned his cage. In months after the court's decision, the full fallout of Michael's deeds came with fitting fairness. The audit found not just our shared funds, but extra cash Eleanor hid for taxes. Both hit with fines. Eleanor also faced charges for persona theft, imposing as me to Horizon International. Michaels tries to restart in Boston failed. His field standing ruined by open court logs of his ditching and money lies. Lisa went back to Portugal solo, her no-charge deal done for us both. The split ended with terms strongly for me and Ethan. Total guardianship, with Michael allowed only watch time, which he seldom took, full return of shared funds, plus court costs and big kid aid tied to Michael's future pay to stop him from staying low-paid on purpose. Most pleasing was seeing Eleanor's built social mask fall when her social group learned she did persona theft to ruin her boy's job. The lady who'd critiqued me for years now endured critique from her circle. 5 months after Michael's note flipped our lives, Ethan and I settled in a cozy yet snug townhouse bought with reclaimed cash, a place truly ours, free of deceit shadows. Will Dad visit ever? Ethan asked one night, as I settled him in his fresh space-themed room. Unsure, dear, I said true. But we'll manage fine regardless. And we did. I went back to steady managing at a media firm with parent-friendly times. Ethan blossomed in his new school. The sharp ache of Michael's deceit slowly became milder, a gained insight on toughness and independence. At times, life's harshest turns spark sudden growth. Michael's goodbye note, best of luck with the bills, meant as a crushing end. Instead, it started a tale of uncovering power I didn't know I had.